Today we are multiplying 2 and 3-digit numbers times a 1-digit number using the standard algorithm. An algorithm, you know, is a pattern for solving a problem. The standard algorithm just means the old-fashioned way. This is the way your parents and I were taught to multiply. And we're only going to answer one question. How do I multiply a 2 or 3-digit number by a 1-digit number? And frankly, that one question is enough to keep us busy this afternoon. So let's take a look at a problem. 32 taken 3 times. I can do 2 times 3, but 32 times 3 across like that, that setup is not going to work for me. So let's look at a way that will. What I've done is taken my notebook paper and I've turned it, because lining up numbers when I multiply larger numbers is really, really important. In fact, if I went here, need a pen. There we go. If I went here, it's easy already to start getting sideways, and that's not what we want to do. It will foul us up later, just take my word for it. So I've turned my paper sideways, and this will help me immensely in keeping lined up. And now my ones are all in my ones column, and my tens are neatly tucked in my tens column, and they won't get smashed or confused. So my first job is to take my ones and multiply by my ones. 3 times 2 is 6. Right, so I go here to here. Next, I'm going to take my ones and multiply it times my tens. 3 times 3 tens gives me 9 tens. And you will see that 32 taken 3 times is 96. Can I check it? Well, I could, because if you remember that multiplication is simply repeated addition. And when the numbers are small, I could do this. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. So that's one way of checking. But I wouldn't recommend that with very large numbers. So 28 times 3. Okay, let's bring that over here to the sideways notebook paper so everything stays nice and lined up. And we'll do 28. We'll multiply that times 3. All right, step 1 is 1 times 1. So 3 ones times 8 ones gives me, 24 ones. And we are still working in base 10, so I cannot put 24 here. I'm going to put down my 4 ones, and I'm going to carry my 2 tens. Now I multiply my ones times my tens. 3 times 2 tens gives me 6 tens. But I've got these tens up here. So 3 times 2 tens is 6 tens plus 2 more tens gives me 84. And if you'll take a second, jot that into your notebook so you have an example, and then we'll check it. And now that you've written that into your notebook, here's the quick and easy way of checking my work. Yeah, I've grabbed a calculator. So let's take 28 times 3, and there you go. 84 is in fact correct. So here's one for you to try, and we're going to take this in parts. All right? The first thing I want you to do is to go to your notebook and turn it sideways, if you haven't already, and put 52 times 6, line it up so we're ready to work. All right? It should, in just a second, look like this. 52 taken 6 times. All right, step 1 is complete. So now it's time for the second step. Go ahead and do some multiplying. Pause the video, and then I'll show you what you should have done. Okay, the next step is to take your ones and multiply times your ones. 6 ones times 2 ones gives you 12. And again, I can't put 12 here, so I'm going to put down my 2 ones and bring up my 110. Go ahead and stop the video again and do the next step. All right, what you should have done is taken your 6 and multiplied it times 5 tens. 6 times 5 tens is 30 tens, but we still have this right here too. So 30 tens plus 110 will give me 31 tens. So it looks like 52 taken 6 times is 312. And I'm thinking that's reasonable because if I were to estimate 52 at 50, I can come up with 50 times 6 should be 300. That sounds right, but always let's check. Got my trusty calculator back, and let's do 52 times 6. We get, 312. Are we awesome? All right, so let's kick it up a notch. This one's mine, and I'll show you what to do with it. 312 taken 3 times. Well, not a whole lot different. I'm just going to put my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. And I'm going to multiply times ones, because I'm just multiplying times 3. There we go. So the first 2 steps aren't going to change. I'm still going to take my ones times my ones. 3 times 2 is 6. And I'm still going to go next to my tens. 3 times 110 gives me 3 tens. And I'll bet you can already figure that what we're going to do is go from our ones to our hundreds. 3 times 3 hundreds gives me 9 hundreds. And you'll see that we have 936 as our answer. Let's check. Let's clear the trusty calculator. 312 times 3 equals 936. Super. All right, here's one for you to try. 137 times 2. I'll do like we did last time. Your first job is to write it into your notebook. Pause the video. Okay, here's what it ought to look like. 137 times 2. Okay, pause the video while you take care of the next step. Well, your next step is going to look like 2 ones times 7 ones, which gives me 14 ones. Can't put 14 in one place. So there goes the 4 part of 14. Here's the 10 part of 14. Stop the video and do the next step. Well, your next step was to take ones times tens. So 2 times 3 tens gives me 6 tens. But there's one here. So 2 times 3 is 6 tens. Plus 1 10 gives me 7 tens. All right, stop the video and do the last step. Your last step was to take your ones and multiply it times hundreds. 2 ones times 100 gives me 200. And so I have a final answer of 274. Let's check it. Okay, let's take our 137 times 2. Sure enough, 274. Now with me just taking 137 twice, I could have just added 137 and 137 to check. That works too, when the numbers are small. All right, so we have answered a big scary question. How do I multiply a 2 or 3-digit number times a 1-digit number? Any questions you have or any confusion you have, jot that back, and Chloe the cat and I are going to have a wonderful afternoon. You do the same thing.